My name is Ryan Holmes, and you're listening to the Hustlin Holmes podcast, where I speak to a variety of individuals to help get you, the listener, insight into interesting local happenings and global issues that may be affecting us all. If you like this podcast, I hope that you would give us a like and leave some comments on our YouTube page, on Spotify, and share it with your friends to try to get the word out. And if you have an interesting story you would like to share and you are in Western Montana, please get in contact at ryan@exitrealtybv.com or follow the link in my bio. And now, here's another episode. All right, I think we got everything set up. We're ready to go. Everything sounds good. Well, welcome to the studio.
Do you have it turned on?
Yeah, we're recording. We're live. It's all going.
All right.
We're here.
All right.
So, the studio that Max built.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is all because of you, sir.
I think it's the only podcast studio in Hamilton.
It might be.
Yeah.
Other than, I don't know, maybe there's one in somebody's basement somewhere.
Could be.
There could be a pirate radio station out there.
Somebody's mom's basement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
in that
sure.
case. Yeah. So, welcome. Thanks for being here. Glad to finally get you in the studio.
Yeah.
And talk to the man of Exit Realty, Idaho and Montana, and Bitterroot Valley.
Bitterroot Valley, yeah.
Both things. Tell me about it. So how did this whole thing begin? Let's start from... Start at the origin story of Exit Realty.
Like way back in 2006?
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity
A little closer there.
to be licensed in 1995.
Yeah.
So I think it's going on 27 years. And I was fortunate to be able to work at Rocky Mountain Log Homes, and we had our own land company.
Yeah.
And so we were able to help build out the Stock Farm Club, involved in land sales there and resales and log home sales, and just a really, really good run there. And so when that ended at Rocky Mountain after about 11 years, I went to work for Caribou Creek Log Homes as a national sales manager for a year. And then they were in Bonners Ferry, Idaho, and it wasn't working out distance-wise. So I decided needed to take the next step. Love the real estate business, wanted to stay here, didn't want to move. And so I started to research, and I spent about 3 months looking at everything that was out there at the time. And I went with Exit for a franchise because of how progressive they were and because of the three different income streams that they provided, which in the last 18 years has proven out very, very well.
Gotcha,
the decision I made was a good decision.
So that's kind of one of the big things I think that people don't know a lot about in terms of Exit. What, other than just working as an agent, you can also not only just from commission, but you can also get income from residuals, which is a big thing.
One level residuals, yes. So the way it works is, in the real estate industry, it's never changed. You either take listings or you work with buyers.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing that caught my attention with Exit at the time was I thought to myself, how many realtor retirement parties have I been to? And to this day, 27 years licensed in this valley, I've been to one with a colleague at Coleman Banker. One retirement party. Well, why is that? Because most agents don't have, unless, I'm sure some have 401ks and they've bought real estate and they've done really well. They've invested. They should have been doing that all along. But along came 2008, 2012, which was like a big gut punch in the industry nationwide.
Absolutely.
Worldwide. Felt
global.
Worldwide. So that was really at that point when I went through that with the brokerage, I kept getting paid residuals. So all of a sudden I had the third dimension of real estate, which nobody else had, and nobody still has in this valley.
Yeah.
And so in the course of the last 18 years, we've paid out $1.3 million in one-level residuals to to agents in this brokerage,
Wow.
into this local economy, over and above their commissions.
That's
And
incredible.
the great news is it didn't come out of anybody's commission. It was paid by the brokerage.
Yeah.
Well, the brokerage has to be profitable. It's got to be run correctly. It's got to have the right support systems in place. I ran a couple weeks ago the top 10 agents on the real estate board,
Yeah.
and 6 of them were either current exit agents or previous exit agents, because you don't keep people forever.
Yeah. No.
Right. So that's a part of our legacy. Right. We can take somebody that has the aptitude, the attitude, and get them to altitude.
Awesome.
Because of what we've got in place. We've
Yeah.
proven it
Yeah.
over and over again. So what that has done for me, having that third income stream, has resulted in me, my wife Tina, being able to invest more in our agents, more in the tools that are available, training, all of that, and also in real estate, which if you're not doing that as an agent, once you're up and running,
Yeah.
I almost think your clients expect that level of expertise at some point, because it's, hey, I'm living in my van down by the river, but I'm going to try to sell you this $1 million house, So I think all of that comes with time, and all that comes with level of experience.
Yeah, for sure.
But that capability that residuals has given us has been phenomenal. In 2009, we opened the brokerage in spring of 07, but in 2009, I took it another step further, and we became regional owners with Exit Realty, which gave us the ability to own the franchise rights in the state of Montana.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I was the only franchisee here. I was
Wow.
the first one in the state. And I tell a story about being elk hunting 2 years ago in the Big Hole Valley, which is, for people that don't live here, that's probably, if they saw it, they would think it's one of those desolate places on the planet, especially when it's 30 below, right?
It's a pretty incredible place, though.
And I came down a road, and there was a ground blizzard going on, and I was looking for a place to do a T-turn to turn around because the snow was starting to drift. And I looked over to the left, and there was an exit sign out in the middle of nowhere,
No way.
where Twin Lakes is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's out there, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at that sign, and I said, that sign's there because of the decision I made in November of 2006.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's built from there. Franchisees in Great Falls and Missoula. We have 3 offices in Missoula. We're in Great Falls. We're in Polson. We're in Laurel, Montana. And we, since about a year and a half ago, we bought the franchise rights to Idaho.
Yeah.
And so we now have 2 managing brokers in place, Kathy Butts for Hamilton and for Darby, and Kim Lindman for Stevensville.
Yep.
That's going to enable Tina and I to get out on the road and get the rest of these franchises sold, which makes it better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
It expands our referral base. And Exit's got it's not just the residuals. I mean, it's a very unique program all the way around. So if I have a listing in Great Falls and I call the Great Falls broker, that's a 40% referral to me because it's within the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I take it outside the system, it's only going to pay me 25% referral.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So they've been able to do the things that weren't available in the industry. We haven't changed anything. We haven't changed anything at all. We're the only company where an agent, can go to $100,000 in income and then go to 90-10 on a split for the rest of the year.
Yep.
Right. But it gets better, Ryan, as you well know. If you decide to take time off to have a child, if there's an illness in the family, and you're receiving residuals, you can take a step back and still receive 7% on all of those people you've recruited.
Yeah.
Again, one level, just like somebody selling an insurance policy to you. You renew in a year, they get paid again.
Sure.
We have to pay agents within 3 days because they've already spent the money, most of them, right?
Hopefully.
Especially
No.
when they're starting out, right?
Yeah.
So, but then beyond that, this is something that's really, really unique. There's a beneficiary death benefit. So we have
Right.
many,
Yep.
many stories within the system of an agent dying, stay-at-home mom, 2 or 3 kids who's never worked,
Yeah.
and that continues to pay 5% for as long as those agents are involved in the system.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible.
Right. So we had an agent that died in a car wreck in Spokane. We have 3 offices there. And the people that were recruited by this gentleman all got together and had a luncheon about a month after the funeral with the wife and said, look, we are going to go out en masse and get as many listings, as many sales as we can to really help you out.
That's awesome.
Where else do you get that from?
Right.
It's
yeah.
not out. It's not out there. It's really not out there. So that whole system kind of breeds a different culture.
Oh, for sure.
It's a family culture.
100%.
I see it. I've been around long enough, to see, and I see with other brokerages and other systems that are out there, easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
Here today, gone tomorrow, right? What is it that causes people to stay around, right? Because
Yeah, 100%.
so we still average we have more agents than anybody on the board here on the local board. But that's because of the culture, and that's because of the support and the tools and how we care about each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a very well-rounded program. It's been very, very, we've been very blessed, by being involved with this. And so,
Yeah.
so when you get to a certain age, you start to think about your legacy. What are you leaving behind? What are you cultivating? What are you trying to share? What are you trying to impart, especially to the next generation like yourself?
Yeah.
Right. And to watch somebody go and they're not going from zero. They're only coming from zero, coming into this business because they have other experiences. Not all of them apply to this business. You found that out.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of it does. A lot of it does. So our job is to take that skill set that's there, enhance it, right? Work with the agent and get them to the point where they're doing the best possible job for the client, our seller or our buyer.
Yep.
Without that, we have nothing.
Yeah, I can attest to that. It's been I'm going on a year and a half now, and it's been quite the exciting and wild ride since I started this whole adventure. I mean, I initially got into it thinking, oh yeah, just something I'll kind of do on the side, because I was helping my parents with their flipping business. And then the more I got into it, and it's definitely a lot to do with the culture around this brokerage, especially how we're all just kind of willing to help each other and making sure that we all have the right information and that we're all, the senior agents and brokers around here are more than willing to help anytime to help you, with a buyer, with a listing, anything that's there's a lot of convoluted things in this industry too, of like,
Sure.
a lot of complicated issues to deal with. And I've never had a moment where I haven't been able to turn to somebody and get an answer, at least to get me in the right direction. And, I have some experiences from my past career that I'm able to draw upon, but there's a lot of new things here, and it's just been, the help has been overwhelming and more than welcome. And I can't speak to other brokerages because I haven't worked at other ones, but just from what people tell me, it's pretty incredible to be here. So,
well, we have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You have a lot of responsibility.
For sure.
I mean, if we're not concentrating every day on our client, our buyer, or our seller, the case of a seller, we're probably dealing with their most important asset, probably their most expensive asset that they own because of what's happened with home equity in the last 4 or 5 years. We have to be good stewards of that. With buyers, we have to be just as diligent because look at the environment now. Interest rates over 7, right? First-time home buyers, does that even exist anymore? Hardly, until we can get our rates down, get our inventory up. Inventory is starting to come up
a little bit
in all areas, all of our market areas. So that'll balance out. The Fed's going to have to do something here.
Sure, yeah.
We pause, start to cut down in 24. Something will give there. Otherwise, there's people that are going to be stuck in the rent cycle for a long time. Maybe always.
Oh, I saw a statistic the other day that we're approaching 60% of people renting versus owning in this country.
Yeah, so if you're a millennial, you're born in 1980 on, right? I mean, it's a tough place to be because rents are unforgiving.
Yes,
right?
Also.
Rents have not backed off. So that's a supply and demand issue too. Not helped out by the pandemic with all the remote workers coming in and taking
for sure.
What's existing.
I mean, that's happened.
We need new housing. We need a lot more new housing being built. And I think a lot of municipalities, I know Missoula County is very progressive in that area. And cutting the red tape and the regulation to get apartment buildings built, multifamily.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of multifamily going in.
Yeah, it has to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need a little more density on, both. I mean, that's both good and bad. It brings positives and negatives, but definitely in terms of providing people with housing, we need a little higher density housing, I see. I mean, it's nice to be here and have everything spread out, but at the same time, we also need to provide spots for people that work in town, and that
We
kind
just
of
don't
thing.
have much land to develop.
That's the other. Well, yeah,
Especially
I mean
within the
that's
city.
yeah,
With the county, the same way. We're hemmed in
yep,
by government land,
yep.
north, south, east, and west.
I mean that's
You know?
that's the double-edged sword of living in
Yeah.
Valley County, especially is
Yeah.
it's beautiful and spread out here, but we have so much limited space.
Yeah, it's true.
But going back to residuals and the exit kind of ideology around that, kind of break down how that works, because I think a lot of people have a bit of a misconception about how
Yeah,
these
they do.
residuals are actually paid out.
Well, I've heard before numerous times, well, it's a multi-level company.
Yep.
Well, it's not. It's a one-level residual program. And so I recruit you into the business, which I did.
Yep.
Right? You have the opportunity to do the same with someone else. That doesn't happen for agents right away because they got to get their feet underneath them. They got to get situated in their business and get things going, right? But so what happens is that every time Ryan sells something, I get 10% of his gross commission. But it doesn't come out of Ryan's commission. It comes out of the brokerage side.
Yep.
It's paid by the brokerage. So that's part of our culture. That's when we bought the franchise, signed the document, we agreed to abide by that, right? To provide that third dimension of income and all those benefits that come with it, the 10, 7, and the 5, right?
Yep.
So Ryan makes $100,000. He's capped me out at $10,000. I can't make any more.
So there's a limit.
There's a limit.
Okay.
One on that person.
Yeah.
Then it starts over again January 1st. Okay? So you may go to the 1st of March, Ryan, and you cap out, and now you're at 90-10 commission, 90% to you, 10% in the company, which is basically an admin fee at that point.
Yep.
We feel if we can get you to that point, which we're very successful at doing, you deserve that. The company feels that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a great retention tool, right?
Absolutely.
It's a motivational tool, believe me, right? And so the game then becomes, with a cooperating market, how fast can I cap out every year, right?
By end of first quarter.
Yeah, and it happens. So the exciting part of it is that can be done anywhere in North America, whatever there's an exit office, in Canada or in the U.S., right? So it'll be 19 years in November.
Wow,
right?
yeah.
I've been paid $936,000 in one-level residuals. Okay, hopefully that description I gave explains that. But the cool thing about that has nothing to do with commissions.
Yeah.
All right, so take 4 to 5 years out of that equation, because there were very few brokerages anywhere that were profitable, or agents for that matter, from 08 to 12, right, when we started to come out of this. And divide that in and look at the income per year, right?
Yeah.
I was making more money per year on residuals than most agents were making selling real estate.
Wow.
So we used to call it mailbox money. It used to come in a check form. Now it goes directly into our bank account. What do you use that money for? Well, I put my son through college, right, which was not cheap, University of Montana. I can go down the list. I can give you story after story about people that have paid for cancer care, things that come up. Real estate investment opportunities is the number one thing it's used for.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Right? Because, it doesn't go away. All right? So you have that same opportunity, once you get going, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about that, you're about that at that point, right? Because you're well-versed enough in it, you'll be able to explain it and tell the story.
Yeah.
It's all about the elevator speech, right?
True.
That 2-minute elevator speech, what we do. No matter how well you tell the story, there's still somebody out there that doesn't believe it. It doesn't believe it, but I'm living proof of it, okay? And here's the really good news. Those residuals stay with me for the rest of my life. As long as I'm an exit associate, doesn't mean I have to sell real estate. I could be sitting on a beach in Hawaii 10 years from now, retired, and the agents I brought in, as long as they're still here, you're one of them, every time you sell something, I get paid 7%. 7%. You get that no other place.
No, you
right?
don't. I mean,
there's a couple of different companies out there that are multi-level.
Yeah.
7 levels deep, all different things, right? So it's a proven system. It makes it, because of the residuals, it makes it easier for Tina and I to sell franchises because they've never seen anything like it before. They've never heard of anything like it before. And when I started to sell franchises in 2009, had made a lot of residuals at that point, right? Bought it in 2006, opened it up in spring of 2007, and then the market, down she went. Right?
Yeah.
But we were still able to sell franchises. All of them were profitable, right? So is it easier for us to go out now? Now we have 2 managing brokers in place to sell with this track record in place.
Oh yeah.
You're damn well right. It's going to be easier.
Yeah.
Right?
Speak to that. What was that like? Because you said you opened Exit Realty Bitterroot Valley in 2006.
I bought it in 06 and
Bought
opened
it
in
in
07.
06.
You have
Opened
120
07.
days to open the office.
Okay. So opened in 07, and then 2008 rolls around, and the global financial crisis.
Katie, bar the door, right? So, yeah, I mean, I built an office out that was 5,600 square feet. When I went to training, they told me, build out once, never move.
Yeah.
Every time you move, you lose a little bit, right? So I did that, and I still own that building,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We just rehabbed it. We're getting ready to sell it, but we've built a new building here, the one we're sitting in now. So I did everything I was told to do. It all played out. It worked out great, right? But there were days where I walked around that circle. I had room for 45 agents,
Yeah.
and I looked at some of those cubicles, and I'm going, where the hell's everybody at? But at that time, nobody knew what was happening with the industry. I mean, it was just a really odd time. It was a good thing for all franchisees to go through.
Yeah.
The ones that survived it. There were a lot that didn't survive it.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I know brokers in this valley that lost their homes.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? They weren't prepared for it. And how could you? How could you be other than to be debt free, right? And be very well positioned.
Yep.
Because you just think the business is going to keep going the way it's going. And I'll tell you what, at the end of 07, it was screaming. Valuations, well, it took us many, many, many years to get back in this valley to the level of valuation we were in 07. Now we've surpassed that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we still got room to go. So lots of opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that also kind of speaks to something that I've learned over the years is that people that build in times of crisis or when the market is turning down and you spend that time building, when it comes back on is when those companies that spent that time building really excel.
That's what we did, Ryan.
And those people, yeah.
And agents that are still here that were there will tell you that's what happened. And what they heard from me was, look, we're going to take this time to really get situated in the market, really get our vendor relationships lined up, all of our contacts, because when this thing comes spinning back up, there's not going to be anybody more prepared than we were, and it proved out to be true. And that comes from my extensive sales management background. It's like, there's only one way to go, right? I had a huge investment. I wasn't going back the other way. There's some things you can't control, and that period of time proved that. But when you have that downtime, now it's time to really dig down into the basics.
Yep.
Because nothing in this business has ever really changed. It's all basic fundamentals. Doing the right thing, buyers and sellers.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years as well as you branch out.
Yeah.
And we get Montana and Idaho going. Well, that kind of leads to another question. So Exit exists in Canada and the United States at the moment. Are there do you know of any plans of expansion to, say, Mexico or
There's
Europe
been talk
like
of that, but a lot of companies get way ahead of themselves. We're not a public company.
Yeah.
We're privately held. The founder's still involved day to day in the business. So when you take the Remaxes of the world that are publicly traded, that are much better funded, they can, and they did. They branched out when the market was really screaming in the 70s and the 80s, right? And took that opportunity. That's somewhere we'll end up going, but we still have unfinished business in North America.
Gotcha.
And so we have 135 franchises to sell next year.
Wow. Okay.
We just came back from a meeting in Toronto, and that is what we've been tasked to do. And so we keep expanding in all these different markets. The name in franchise sales, it's not about how many franchises that are sold so much as if you sold 135 and you lost 129 that didn't renew after 5 years, what have you done?
Yeah, right.
So your net number has to be up there, right? Because it doesn't do, again, going back to 06, it did no good for me to be here by myself. The closest franchises were in Spokane.
Oh, okay.
And lots of support there, right?
Yeah.
But it's not good being by yourself. So we have, in Idaho, that's our task now, is we have 21 franchises to sell in Idaho, right? So we have to be in all those offices once a quarter, but we're available all the time to be able to help them build their brokerages, because in our system, it's about as vertically integrated as you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
Nobody gets paid anything from corporate down until something sells. We don't get paid on selling somebody a training course,
No.
right? We don't have junk fees. We don't have any of that. It's a very pure system. So it's driven from the top to the bottom by helping us. So us as a regional owner with franchisees, we have to drive the transactions. We have to help them recruit. We have to help them put the right systems in place, make sure they're going to convention, they're getting the trainings, all the things that the company provides, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
What's
yeah.
available, and you've seen that on the research
Oh yeah,
center.
absolutely.
And it just gets enhanced all the time. We own our own technology.
I think that's one of the most incredible things.
Yeah, we don't lease anything from anybody, so nobody else has what we have. Everything's proprietary.
Yep.
From our software all the way down.
And it's not just going to, and it won't just on a whim change because
Right.
the contract ran out.
Because the price went up. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we saw with our MLS system.
Exactly. We had no control over that.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Yeah, still a contentious point among many
Right.
real estate agents these days.
I'm going tomorrow to Anaconda for I'm on the state board.
Yeah.
On the local Bitterroot Valley Board of Realtors. I'm a state director. And invariably, when I'm at these meetings, I get approached by people that I still have to tell the story. And I've been on the board before, right?
Right.
They still don't understand it. And it's as transparent as it gets. And you can go right on to exitroyalty.com and
They tell you everything.
click on the 4-minute million.
Yep.
It tells the story.
Yep.
Right. And you can watch it 10 times. It never changes.
Nope.
Right. It's never changed in almost 19 years, and it won't change. So it's the other thing that I get excited about is, I can only speak from our experience here, but I can guarantee you there's not another firm in this valley that has given back to the community more than we have. Right?
That I see as well, yeah.
And a big part of that is Exit's Spirit of Giving program.
Yeah.
So if we have a charitable event going on, like we did one with the shelter, they built a new animal shelter here.
Yep.
They put on an event, it was a bake sale, and Exit Realty Corp, they match it dollar for dollar.
That's incredible.
Up to a certain dollar amount.
Sure, yeah.
But it's substantial. I think it's up to 8,000, so they'll match it, which makes it 16,000.
Yeah.
Right? And we've done that 20 times here since that program came on, I think 3 years ago.
Awesome.
So other companies have charitable things that they do.
Yep.
But I see it right at the ground level, and I see what effect that it has on the community, and that's available to every one of our agents that brings that in and says, we want to do this. How do we set it up?
Yeah.
It's real simple.
Yeah, and not just from the corporate level, but I think on an individual level too. I've seen, I think the majority of our agents here are involved some way with some volunteer project.
Right.
Right? I mean, Kathy used to be on the board of the Bitterroot Humane Association.
Yeah.
I know that Kim McClay is involved with the school lunch program in Florence.
Yeah.
And there, Jean Wald, who's on
She's
Darby
all
Parks
over it.
and Rec,
Yeah.
a bunch of the Darby Schoolhouse or the Como Schoolhouse, like a bunch of things. And like all these people here are just so willing to be involved in these in associations that give back to the community as well.
You got to be willing to give back.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the money, which is a big part of it, but also the willingness and the spirit of giving, I think, is
Right.
just in everybody here
Where it's
in
at.
one way or another. So,
Yeah.
and I think that really shows the character of a lot of the people that work here.
Yeah,
Work
I agree.
in this brokerage. So it's a pretty incredible
That's what
experience.
makes it fun coming to work every day.
Super. Yeah, it's super inspiring
Yeah.
to be around a lot of these people and just see the incredible things that they're doing. And yeah, it's just it's a really, even though none of us are really family, we all feel like a family,
Right. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, when we're talking about charitable
Yeah.
ventures, at the ground level here in the Bitterroot Valley, we've got a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have things that are going on nationwide that we participate in. So last month, Tina and I participated in an event, which was a Spirit of Exit charitable event in the state of Iowa. And we rode our bicycles across Iowa.
Oh, yeah, the Ragbri.
Yeah, the Register's annual Great Ride Across Iowa, 50th anniversary. Camped out 7 nights with 30,000 fellow cyclists in sweltering heat and tornadic weather,
Yep.
right? But it was a hell of an experience, and we raised a lot of money through the efforts of all of the brokers and the agents in the state of Idaho, and my good friend Bill Pankin and Cade Pankin, and the owners of Exit Realty Upper Midwest, which are the regional owners. So Bill helped put that together. He just sent me the link, and it was game on.
Nice.
Last February.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So big commitment on our part. We drove out there. We
For sure.
recruited other riders from here to go, friends, grade school friends of mine, and that are cyclists. And so we're always looking for those opportunities to expand that program.
Yeah.
So we had agents turn out all across the state of Iowa to support us.
Awesome.
I think there's 36 offices in the state of Iowa, more franchise offices with an exit there than any other brand.
Wow.
And at the end in Davenport, we dipped our rear tire in the Missouri in Sioux City and our front tire into the Mississippi in Davenport. And our office owners there, Chris Ryder and her husband, put on a hell of a party for us.
Awesome.
Got us properly rehydrated with a lot of beer, right? Good food, good company. A bunch of agents turned out,
Nice.
raised more money that night at that event. So it's not just local too; it's a system-wide effort.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Exit's given millions of dollars in charitable money,
Yeah. Yeah.
just from the corporate side.
So you gonna do it again?
I think I'll do it again. I'm not sure whether
Don't know if Tina will do
I think
it.
Tina's still healing.
It seemed quite the experience.
Yeah.
That is a lot of bike riding,
Yeah, it
was a lot of bike
It
riding.
was fun though.
especially in July in the humidity and heat out there. I know how that could be. I spent a few weeks over the summer one time in West Liberty, Iowa, and it was sweltering.
Yeah, that's kind of the word for sure.
Just sticky. Corn and stick. That's about
Yeah,
what's
corn and
happening.
soybeans.
Oh yeah, lots of soybeans too. Man, yeah, that was. I remember, yeah, all the prep you guys did for that. That was quite the adventure for sure. Lots of preparation for that. And speaking of preparation, what drawing from your years of experience, what do you see happening over the next 6 to 9 months here in the market? There's a lot of changes coming.
Yeah, I'm fully convinced this is not just coming from me, but we're privy to a lot of economic information being at the corporate level as regional owners. Tina and I also are President Circle, National Association of Realtors President Circle members. So we have 1.5 million agents nationwide, and there's 1,935 of that 1.5 that are President Circle members.
Okay.
So we meet once a year at a really nice place, have a conclave. We bring congressional members in. Dr. Lawrence Youth, who works for NAR, who's their chief economist. And so that they're pretty good at forecasting on what's going on because, we've been down this track before. There's little nuances and different variances, but it's strictly a supply and demand issue, barring any other global calamity somewhere, right? I see rates coming down in 2024. Inventories are already starting to rise. We're seeing that here. When inventories rise, rates comes down, prices come down, right?
Yep.
They don't go up. What drives prices up is lack of availability, right?
Yeah.
I just read an article on my feed this morning about 2 people in Boise that moved to Boise. They're remote workers and are being called back to the office or lose their job.
Yep.
And so they're selling their homes now because Boise was so overvalued, over 20% they're saying, for over $100,000 loss on each home. Right?
Yeah, that's
still making good equity, right? But not realizing, they're behind where they started.
Yeah.
Because they did it 2 years ago and now they're having to go back or lose their job.
Yep.
So there's a lot of that going on.
There is, yeah.
Right? Because there's a quote, I put it on Facebook the other day, is, competition happens at the bottom of any business. But I think it really holds true in this business, right? The success is at the top where people are collaborating. You have to collaborate.
Absolutely.
Right? Not just within your brokerage, but within the community.
Within the community and with other agents too.
So I don't think anybody does a better job than us here. And that's really why we've got such a success rate of bringing newer agents on.
Yeah.
I would rather have an agent come on like yourself a year and a half ago that has no bad real estate habits.
Yeah.
Not that we still don't develop them, right? But we take what's good about your experience, show you what works, what's proven to work, and not every agent takes everything because of personality profiles, right?
Yep.
And then watch them soar, right? When you look at an agent and go, well, what's the most you've ever made? 25,000, and you're going to make $100,000 this year, right?
Yeah.
It's not when you're young. You're going, that's a lot of money. It is, but
Sure.
it's the transformation there. But the formative part of all that is it's a time and money equation. What does that money do for you? It buys you more time.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, you can equate it by saying, it buys me a new car. It buys me this. It buys me that. You know, that's a phase you go through. But when you get to my age, it's a time issue.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. You only got so much time, right?
True.
So that's why you kind of go. You come through this curve, and that I'm on that curve now. You know, where I want to impart as much of my success, as much as my knowledge. I gave a speech, I think, 4 years ago at an Exit Montana get together.
Yeah.
You know, where I had implored all of our franchisees to write their own obituary, and I had them do that in a meeting,
Okay.
in an exercise.
Yeah.
Really got to start to think about things, right? Well, I couldn't ask them to do that unless I had done the same thing.
Sure.
And I had done it first. And then I shared what that was, and I read it at the meeting. And I remember at the end of that, I said, and it's tough reading your own obituary, right? Is that I had set up a foundation, you know, in the local high schools for entrepreneurs
Okay.
to be able to further their efforts on into secondary education.
Oh, right on.
Right? That's a perpetuating scholarship. That's still a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I'm still here, right?
Still got time.
Yeah, still got time. So, but that's, you know, there's a lot of people out there that tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of information. I've read I can't tell you how much I've read on, if you've seen my library in my house, so you see the library here.
Yeah.
Right, on entrepreneurship and, you know, business management and all that good stuff, you know. But you have to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
You know, that's the number one habit in the book, you know, the 7 Habits of Successful People. Mm-hmm. Begin with the end in mind. That's hard to do.
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
if I go back in 06 and go, well, did you expect to be where you're at now in 2023? Not totally, because I didn't know what was going to happen in 08 to 12.
Yeah.
And there were times in 2010, as I'm pulling more money out of my 401k and paying a tax penalty on it to keep everything going,
Yeah.
where you just can't answer that question. But you have to tell yourself, I'm in the right program, I'm living where I want to live, and this has nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
Right? And we've seen that in the last few years, that this valley has been discovered.
It has, yeah.
You know, Hollywood discovered it, the remote workers discovered it. Why not? It's a beautiful place to live.
It's true.
You know, so
That's why I came back.
We're very blessed.
That's why I came back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible place to be, and you know, I'm lucky that I have, you know, the majority of my family here as well. That's another bonus. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I lived a lot of places on this world, and you know, I always felt the call to come back home eventually.
Always
And it was
Yeah.
always whenever I come back home, it was like, man, I wish I could. I just never saw the point. I didn't see the opportunity for myself yet, right? Because
Well, you had worked enough. You're used to making a good amount of money.
yeah, right.
So
Yeah,
how does that translate here?
yeah, and it's very
It
hard.
didn't always do that here.
No, it didn't.
Right.
And then, yeah, one thing led to another, and I was like, you know, I'll come home for a little bit and see, you know, help my parents with this construction gig, and then got my license, my real estate license, and it's really just snowballed.
So how long have
since
we known
then.
each other? How old were you when I met you?
Jeez, what, like 8, 9 years old? I
8 or
think.
9 years old. How
Somewhere
old are you
in there.
now?
35.
There you go.
I know.
So it's great.
It's all come full circle. It's kind of
Yeah.
incredible. Never thought I'd be working in this industry in my life or doing, you know, anything really like this in my life. But it really speaks to my personality a lot, I've found.
It does.
And
It's a good fit.
there's a lot of challenging aspects about this job, but they're fun. I find the challenges incredibly fun. Property investigation, you know, navigating a transaction, you know, you're kind of juggling all these little balls and trying to figure out how to make them all land in the right spot at the right time. And
Oh, you got to be a marriage counselor.
yeah,
You got to be a psychologist.
yeah, right.
Right.
Well, one of my most favorite jobs that I ever worked was being a bartender.
Yeah.
And it reminds me so much of being a bartender. But instead of like, you know, getting somebody a beer, making somebody a cocktail, it's all right. Let's find you a home that you like, you know, and did you like that one? Okay, what can we do differently? And then in the interim, you're also building this personal relationship with this person that, is coming to get your services on a regular basis, and you end up forming quite a close relationship with these people, and it's in 9 times out of 10, it's a whole lot of fun.
Well, our job is to teach an agent the lifetime value of a client.
Yeah.
So most agents will sell a house and then they're looking around for the next deal, right? So our job is to fill the pipeline, like do what you just said, build a relationship that lasts.
Yeah.
So when the time comes, there's nobody else that they're going to think of, right? When they're in the grocery line and they overhear somebody saying to the checker they're going to list their house, you want that person to be the one that says, hey, I got the guy. I want you to talk to Ryan Holmes, right?
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, right?
Absolutely.
But if you reduce it down to its bare minimum, this is the way it's always been, and this applies to all sales, right?
Yeah.
You find out what people like, you give them a whole lot of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You find out what they don't like, you don't give them any of that, right?
For sure.
And if you think of that, keep that in the forefront of your mind, you can't go wrong, right? It doesn't mean that everything you're going to do with everybody is going to work out that way.
Sure.
But 99% of the time, that's what it works. So how it works. So you have to spend enough time invested up front with the people to get to know them. We just had a transaction we're so blessed to have 3 offices in Stevensville, in Hamilton, and in Darby with incredible floor traffic where people walk in the door, just come in off the street. Sometimes they don't come in. So we had a client who was outside on the sidewalk in Stevensville last month who was looking at the photos and the lit up photos in the window. And our agent, Kim McClay, went outside, struck up a conversation. Next thing you know, they're inside. They're looking to buy a house. They're not represented. A week later, she's got the house. They're listing their home. We get the listing.
That's
Kim
awesome.
McClay gets the listing, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward a week later, there's another person outside the window looking at property. We have a brand new agent, Chloe Milstein, who is inside on the floor. She's from 10 to 3 that day, taking care of people. She goes outside like we train you, strikes up a conversation, gets them to come inside, signs a buyer-broker agreement with them so she represents them exclusively, shows them homes, and puts the one under contract that Kim listed.
That's awesome.
Right? So we have both sides of the deal. It's not a dual agency situation where one agent's representing both parties.
Yeah.
It's 2 separate representations. It's what brokerage is all about, right? It's easier for us internally to deal with the paperwork, all of that.
Absolutely.
Right? But to see that happen, that's the stuff you wake up for every day. I do.
100%,
right?
yeah.
Because then you know you've done well and you provided that opportunity. Not everybody's going to take advantage of it. We have some agents that don't feel comfortable walking out the door and striking up a conversation. Not everybody works out.
That's
right?
true. I mean, and that's not to say that they're not great agents either. They just have a different way of doing
and
it.
Some people are slower. Do it slower, but to see that happen, I'll tell you, incredible story, and that happens over and over and over. So the people that don't have the facilities and haven't invested the money in the physical buildings, right, to have that capability for their agents, they don't have that those are the ones I see looking for their next deal. And there's still others out there who do a great job, and we've got a lot of them on the board. They've got a pipeline that's full of people, and it's just spitting them out, listings and sales. It's just self-perpetuating.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an experienced agent, I'm sure that could be a viable route. But I mean, coming from someone who is brand new to the industry, like having a central location to go to, where you can collaborate with all the people involved as well, has been just an incredible help. And honestly, it's I can say that I made the right choice of coming to this brokerage.
It's good to hear
as my first place and
your last place
and my last place. Who knows? Maybe
always training.
Maybe Exit Realty will expand somewhere else in Montana. And anyway, that's down the line. My next goal is to, I've got a few financial goals to make over the next year or two, and then I think another one is also get enough points so I can try to go for my broker license as well. So that'd be
you're well on your way.
Working on it.
Yeah,
making the progress. So,
good.
Well, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you, Max,
Thanks for putting it
taking
together.
the time, and excited to see what happens over the next year or two. And best of luck with selling those franchises in Idaho.
Yeah, we're going to have a strong market.
I think
Lots
so.
of opportunity.
Yep.
We're going to have to be on our toes. It's going to be flying fast and furious again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Max.